Many small business owners struggle with pricing their products and services correctly. Now, if you are the owner of a product-based business or a designer and you have a product and you're always wondering, am I pricing this correctly? This video is for you. So go ahead, hit the like button, tap that subscribe button too, so you can follow along, so you can learn all things manufacturing. Hello, my name is Giovanna and I am the owner of Tony Becca Leather Travel Bags. Now, at the beginning of me and my bag journey in owning Tony Becca, I made all the bags by hand. So when I was pricing, I was not pricing my bags correctly, and I would make deals with people. I would give them discounts if they said they couldn't afford it, all of these things. And I had to learn what it meant to price my bags the right way. Now that I'm going from handcrafting to manufacturing, I'm going into a whole nother level of pricing my bags and what that actually means and looks like at this point in the journey. Now, once I decided to go into manufacturing and I went through the process of finding the manufacturer and paying for the sample bag, and once they made the sample bag and everything, they were able to see what the patterns were going to be, what materials I was using, how long it took to make it, all of these different factors, and they were able to give me a price of how long or how much it would cost to make each bag. So this particular manufacturer, their minimum is 30 bags. So I can make anywhere from 30, 35, 40, 50, 100 bags, however many I want to make, but the minimum is 30. A lot of times it's easier when you're starting out to start with the minimum, even though it costs a lot more per product when you start at the absolute minimum. But if that's what you got, that's what you got, and that's what you have to go with. Now, when you're going with the manufacturer, you have different costs that all are associated with the entire production cost. You have your labor cost, which is your per bag cost. You have the cost of the cutting dies, and you also have the cost of the heat stamp. Those are pretty much the main cost that you will have to pay for your production. Now, the labor cost all depends on what your bag minimum or amount that you're going to do is going to be. So let's say if you decide you want to do 30 bags, it may cost $150. But if you say, oh, I'm going to do 40 bags, it may only cost $145. And if you say you want to do 50 bags, then it might cost like $140 or $135 a bag. Okay, so these are all things that you have to take into consideration when you're figuring out what your cost is going to be, how much you can afford, and how many pieces you want to start off with. Now, when it came time to figuring out the pricing, I did not want to go it alone on this part of the journey. I sat down and had a meeting with my accountant so that I made sure my numbers were good, my numbers were tight, I wasn't missing anything, I wasn't forgetting anything, and that I was pricing the product correctly. Because at the end of the day, I wanted to make a profit, and I wanted to make sure that whatever that was, the profit was good to help me scale this business and being able to take that money and put it right back in for the very next product. So today I'm going to come before you with my nice little notebook that I use to write all of my ideas and all of my notes in, and from what my accountant was telling me when we sat down together. So here's the thing. You look at your production costs, right? You look at your labor per bag. You also want to look at your materials, your packaging, and your shipping. You want to account for what those numbers look like, because it's not just about the labor and what you do with the manufacturer, but then it's everything that goes into it after you get the bag to make sure things that you put into it, whether it's the materials, the tissue paper, the boxes that you use, the shipping boxes that you purchase, the shipping costs, all of those things. Are you putting the shipping costs into the cost of the product, or is it something that you're going to charge separately from the customer? All of these things have to be figured out, even your marketing cost. Okay, so I had to come before her and I had the manufacturing cost and what all the breakdown on that was. And then we also looked at the materials and the packaging and the shipping costs and what that was per bag. So let's say that it would cost $100 for labor and everything with the manufacturer per bag. And let's say the materials, the packaging, everything would be $50. You're looking at $150 per bag to make up front. If you're gonna go with 30 bags, then you do the math at 30 times 150 and see what that's gonna run you, right? So the next thing you have to consider is you're not gonna sell the bag for just 150 because that will only allow you to break even. You won't make any profit by doing that. Now, if you're a business and you do direct to consumer, the rule is you should charge 2 to 3 times upwards. You should mark up 2 to 3 times what the product cost will be. Now, if you're a designer brand, then you're a well-known name, you're in stores, different things like that. You want to charge anywhere between 4 to 6 times the cost of the product. Now, when you get up to that luxury brand market, that's where it's like 8 to 12 times the product. So now when you're thinking like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Gucci and Louis Vuitton and Chanel and all these people are charging all of these costs when it like only took $120 to make the bag. Well, because in the luxury market, that's what they do. They charge 8 to 12 and probably maybe even more times the cost of the actual product. So once you figure out your pricing, once you look at, okay, if it costs $150 to make the bag and I want to go 2 to 3 times higher than that and I want to sell this bag for $450, then that lets you know if you're only going to do 30 bags or what have you, then you have to sell this amount of bags to be able to break even with what you've paid for packaging, for materials, and for the labor, for the manufacturing costs of the bags. And then you're like, if I sell all 30 bags, then what is my profit after all of the bags are sold? It is so important for you to know your numbers and understand your numbers because your numbers are what allow you to either be successful or not. So you always want to know your numbers. That's why when you watch Shark Tank, they're always asking, and I'm always so just in awe of the people, how they're able to just rattle out their numbers. Oh, my profit is this and I make this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's like those numbers, because based off of those numbers mean whether the sharks are actually going to invest in them or not. Because they're like, oh, this is worth it. Your brand is actually making money and it's profiting. So that means that I'm going to get a return on my investment if I invest in you. Always know your numbers. I know that didn't seem like a whole lot, but that is basically what you need to know so that you are actually pricing your product correctly and that at the end of the day, you are going to make some money. Now, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop them below in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can come back for more.